I found the spreadsheet on a Tuesday morning. 1,247 rows, color-coded, dating back 11 years, and next to every entry was a column labeled approved/denied in my husband's handwriting, and the last row said, tampons, $4.79, denied, not due until the 23rd. He'd been tracking my cycle to decide whether I could buy tampons. Closed the laptop. Set it back on his desk at the exact 14-degree angle he kept it. Adjusted the power cord so the curve matched the groove it had worn in the wood. Pushed the chair in until the armrest kissed the drawer handle. And then I walked to the kitchen, poured a glass of water, and stood at the window looking at the herb garden I'd planted with seeds I'd stolen one at a time from the bulk aisle at Kroger because $1.40 for a packet of basil would have required an explanation. My hands were steady. My breathing was even. My jaw was set in a way it hadn't been set in years. Back teeth meeting, something behind my ribs going perfectly, dangerously still. Because he didn't know. He didn't know about any of it. Not the account. Not the certification. Not the yarn. Not what happens when you give a woman with a degree in forensic accounting $75 every 2 weeks and tell her to be grateful. But I need to go back. Let me tell you how a 41-year-old woman standing in her own kitchen became the most dangerous person in a 4-bedroom house on Sycamore Lane. My name is Claire Beecham. I grew up in Muncie, Indiana. The kind of town where people mow their lawns on Saturday and wave at strangers and nobody asks why you're limping because they already know the answer and they don't want the trouble. My mother worked the register at Whitfield's Hardware for 31 years. My father left when I was 6. I don't remember his face. I remember his car, a brown Buick with a cracked taillight, pulling out of the driveway on a Thursday. I was good at numbers. Always. Not the showy kind. Not the kind that wins math competitions or gets you called gifted. Quiet kind. The kind that notices when the grocery receipt is $2.14 more than it should be. The kind that sees a column of figures and knows, before adding them, that the total won't match. I graduated from Ball State in 2005 with a degree in accounting. Passed the CPA exam on the first attempt. Scored in the 94th percentile. Then I got hired at Whitmore & Solis, a forensic accounting firm in Indianapolis that specialized in fraud detection, corporate embezzlement, insurance schemes, money laundering through shell companies. For 6 years I sat in a windowless office and followed money through systems designed to make it disappear. I found $4.2 million hidden in a daycare chain. I traced $890,000 through 17 accounts across 4 states. I testified in federal court twice. Both convictions. I was precise. I was patient. I was very, very good at finding what people hid. Then I met Grant. He was handsome in a way that felt safe. Broad shoulders. Clean hands. A laugh that filled the room and made you feel like you were standing in sunlight. He opened doors. He pulled out chairs. He asked about my day and listened. Really listened, with his chin on his hand and his eyes on mine. "You're too smart to be single," he said on our 3rd date. I laughed. I shouldn't have. It wasn't a compliment. It was a measurement. We married in 2012. Small ceremony. Methodist Church on Oak Street. My mother cried. Grant's parents drove up from Louisville in a silver Lexus, and his mother looked at the church and then at me and her mouth did something that wasn't quite a smile. I quit Whitmore & Solis 7 months later. Grant said it made sense. "We don't need 2 incomes. You work so hard. Let me take care of things." He said it the way you'd say, "Let me carry that bag." Gentle. Logical. Like refusing would be silly. I handed over my career the way you hand over a coat at a restaurant. Casually. Trusting you'll get it back. I never got it back. The system started small. So small I didn't recognize it as a system. First, the joint account became his account. I'll manage the finances. I'm better with budgets. I had a degree in forensic accounting. He sold medical devices. But I said okay because he'd said it with that warm voice and I didn't want to be difficult. Then came the allowance. He never called it that. He called it, "You're spending money. $75. Every 2 weeks. He'd count it out on the kitchen counter. 3 20s, a 10 and a 5, and slide it across like a tip. That should cover everything you need. If you need more, just ask. Just ask. Those 2 words carried the entire architecture. Because asking meant explaining. Explaining meant justifying. Justifying meant defending. And defending meant losing. What do you need shampoo for? I bought shampoo last month. You spent $11 at Target. On what specifically? Why does a coffee cost $4.75? There's coffee at home. There's always coffee at home, Claire. He kept receipts. Every one. In a filing cabinet in the basement. The one with the padlock I didn't have a key to. He organized them by date, by store, by amount. He cross-referenced them against the $75. If the math didn't add up, if I'd somehow spent $78.14 instead of $75, there would be a conversation. Not a fight. Grant never fought. He explained. Only. Patiently. The way you'd explain long division to a child who keeps getting it wrong. Claire, I'm not trying to control you. I'm trying to protect us. You don't see the big picture. I do. His voice during those explanations was the voice of a man who believed, genuinely, completely, that he was being generous. That $75 every 2 weeks was kindness. That the filing cabinet was love. I stopped buying coffee. The isolation happened the way weather happens. So gradually you don't notice until you're already soaked. My friend Denise called one Tuesday. Grant answered. Claire's resting. Denise called again Thursday. She's not feeling well. Denise stopped calling. I found out in March 4 months later, when I ran into her at the Walgreens on Park Avenue, and she said, I thought you were mad at me. My mother's birthday. I wanted to drive to Muncie. 47 miles. Grant checked the odometer before I left and after I returned. I'd stopped at a gas station on Route 32, 2 minutes, used the restroom, bought nothing, and the extra 0.4 miles required an explanation. I stopped going to Muncie. The children, Emma, 7, and Lucas, 4, watched everything. They didn't understand it. But they absorbed it. Emma started asking permission before opening the refrigerator. Lucas flinched when cabinet doors closed too quickly. These are things I noticed. These are things I carry. One evening Grant sat across from me at dinner. Pot roast, his mother's recipe. The one I'd learned to make exactly the way she made it because the first time I'd added rosemary he'd pushed the plate away without a word, and said, I keep this family together, Claire. Everything I do is for this family. If you can't appreciate that, I need to know now. Because I can find someone who will. He cut his meat. He chewed. He swallowed. I sat there with a forkful of pot roast I couldn't taste, and something behind my sternum folded shut. Quietly, precisely. Like a document being filed in the exact right place. The yarn started it. October 2021. A woman at the library. Pauline, 68, retired home economics teacher, hands like warm bread, was teaching a free knitting group on Wednesday mornings. Grant didn't monitor Wednesdays because he had sales calls until noon. I went. I learned to knit. I was terrible at first. Then I was adequate. Then something happened, the repetition, the counting, the architecture of loops building on loops, unlocked the part of my brain that Grant had tried to padlock shut. Pauline said, You should sell these. The farmer's market takes new vendors. I laughed. I don't have a bank account. Pauline didn't laugh. She looked at me over her reading glasses with an expression I will never forget. Not pity, not anger, something between recognition and resolve, and said, Then we'll fix that. She drove me to First Community Credit Union on Birch Street. I opened an account with $40. Money I'd saved by buying store brand everything and pocketing the difference, $2 and $3 at a time, for 7 months. The account was in my name only. The statements went to Pauline's address. 414 Elmwood Drive, apartment 2B. I started selling scarves at the farmer's market on Saturdays. Grant thought I was at the library. A scarf took 11 hours. I sold them for $35. Then $45 when the quality improved. Then $65 when I started using merino wool I ordered through Pauline's Amazon account. The money went into the credit union. Every dollar. I didn't spend a cent. In 14 months, the balance reached $4,847. But the yarn was never the plan. The yarn was the engine. The plan was the certification. Line. After Grant fell asleep at 10:15, always 10:15 precise as a machine, I'd take my phone to the bathroom, sit on the tile floor with the door locked and study. Certified Fraud Examiner Renewal coursework. Continuing education credits. Dated case law. New detection methodologies. I recertified in March 2023. The certificate went to Pauline's address. She framed it. "You're ready," she said. "Not yet," I said. "I needed the spreadsheet first." He kept the laptop password on a post-it note inside his briefcase. The briefcase had a 4-digit combination lock. 0-7-1-2. Our wedding date. He thought that was romantic. I thought it was careless. The spreadsheet was in a folder labeled Household MGMT. 11 years. 1,247 rows. Every purchase I'd ever made or tried to make. Categorized, approved, or denied. Tampons. Dental floss. A birthday card for my mother, denied. She doesn't need a card, call her. A $6 coloring book for Emma. Approved but flagged with a note. Unnecessary, she has paper. I photographed every page. 47 screenshots. Uploaded to a cloud drive linked to an email address Grant didn't know existed. c.beecham.documents@protonmail.com. Then I opened his bank statements. The $75 he gave me every 2 weeks, $150 per month, $1,800 per year, came from a household account that received $12,400 per month from his salary. I got 1.2% of our household income. He spent $340 per month at Riverside Golf Club, $220 per month at a steakhouse called Embers on 5th, $175 per month on a storage unit, Unit 17, Store More on Industrial Boulevard, that I didn't know existed. I noted the storage unit number. Come back to that. The retirement account, in his name only, funded with marital income, held $487,216. The college savings for Emma and Lucas, $0. He'd never opened them. He'd told me he had. He'd shown me a statement once. I found it in the filing cabinet later. It was a template he'd downloaded and filled in. I put the laptop back at 14 degrees. Adjusted the cord. Pushed in the chair. I walked downstairs and made his lunch for the next day. Turkey on wheat. No mustard. The way he required it. And under the counter behind the slow cooker, my phone was uploading the last of the screenshots to the cloud. The storage unit cost me $35 to investigate. I told Grant I was buying yarn. I drove to Store More on Industrial Boulevard. Unit 17. I didn't have the key, but I didn't need one. I spoke to the manager, Dale, 56, Pacer's hat, coffee breath, and told him I was Grant Beecham's wife and I needed to access our unit. Dale checked the file. Says here the authorized contact is Megan Holt. Something in the back of my neck went cold. The kind of cold that starts from the inside. I see, I said. Can you tell me when Ms. Holt last accessed the unit? Tuesday. She's usually here Tuesdays and Thursdays. Thank Dale. I drove home. I made pot roast. I set the table. I folded the napkins into triangles the way Grant preferred. That night, after he fell asleep at 10:15, I sat on the bathroom floor and added Megan Holt to the file. It took 4 days to find her. LinkedIn. Pharmaceutical sales. Same company as Grant. Hired 2019. Profile photo. Blonde, 29, smile like a real estate listing. I didn't cry. I waited to feel something, anger, humiliation, grief. And what came instead was clarity. Cold, clean, absolute. Like adjusting a picture frame and suddenly seeing the whole wall was crooked. He wasn't just controlling my money. He was spending it on her. Every denied tampon. Every rejected birthday card. Every flagged coloring book. The math was simple. My deprivation funded his affair. Closed the laptop. Buttoned my robe. Stood up. And for the first time in 11 years, I made a plan I didn't need anyone's permission for. Over the next 63 days, the following things happened. Attorney Rachel Woodhouse, Family Law, Whitmore Building, Suite 304, reviewed my documentation. She used a word I hadn't heard applied to my marriage before. Coercive control. She used another word. Financial abuse. She filed the preliminary paperwork on a Wednesday. My former supervisor at Whitmore and Solis, Janet Cho, wrote a letter confirming my professional qualifications and employment history. She also referred me to a forensic accountant named David Park, who reviewed Grant's financial records and identified $74,000 in undisclosed spending over 4 years. Golf, dinners, gifts, hotel rooms, all routed through a credit card I'd never seen. The credit union account now held $11,247. Enough for first and last month's rent on a 2-bedroom apartment at Willowbrook Commons on Sycamore, 3 blocks from Emma's school. I secured the apartment on March 1st. Signed the lease with my legal name. Put down the deposit with money I'd earned one scarf at a time. Sitting in a library with a woman named Pauline who looked at me one Wednesday morning and decided I was worth the trouble. The domestic violence advocate, Maria, at the YWCA on Grand, helped me build a safety plan. A go-bag in Pauline's closet. Copies of every document. The children's birth certificates, which I'd retrieved from the filing cabinet one Tuesday while Grant was at Embers on 5th eating a $47 ribeye. I told him on a Saturday. The children were at his mother's. The house was quiet. He was at the kitchen table reviewing receipts. My receipts from the $75, and he looked up and said, "You spent $4.30 at the Dollar Tree. What was that for?" "Birthday candles. Lucas turns 5 on Thursday. We have candles. Not birthday candles. A candle is a candle, Claire." I sat down across from him. I folded my hands. I felt my back teeth meet. "Grant, I'm leaving. I filed for divorce. I've secured an apartment. The children are coming with me. My attorney will contact yours on Monday." His face did something I'd never seen. Not anger. Not shock. Something mechanical recalibrating behind his eyes, like a machine encountering an input it wasn't programmed to process. "You can't afford to leave." "I can." "With what money?" "You don't have money." "I do." "That's not, you can't just." He stood up. The chair scraped. "I give you everything. Everything. This house. This life. You'd have nothing without me." "Sit down, Grant." "No. You don't get to. The spreadsheet is with my attorney. All 1,247 rows. So are the bank statements, the storage unit records, and Megan Holt's name." He sat down. The color left his face in stages. Forehead first, then cheeks, then lips, like watching a tide go out. I can explain." "You don't need to explain. I'm a forensic accountant." Followed the money. It wasn't difficult. Silence. Seconds. The refrigerator hummed. "We can work this out. Between us. We don't need." "We do." "Claire, please. Think about the kids." "I am thinking about the kids. I've been thinking about the kids since Emma started asking permission to open the refrigerator." His mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. "You can't take my children. I'm not taking anything from you. I'm taking back what's mine." I stood up. I picked up my keys. My keys to my apartment, that I'd paid for with hands that learned to knit in a library on Wednesday mornings. I walked to the door. "Claire." "Stop. You won't survive out there. You haven't worked in 11 years. You don't know how the world works anymore." I turned around. He was sitting at the table surrounded by my receipts, by 11 years of $4.30 purchases flagged and filed and held against me, and he was smaller than I'd ever seen him. "Grant." I found $4.2 million hidden in a daycare chain. I traced $890,000 through 17 accounts across 4 states. I testified in federal court. Twice. You gave me $75 every 2 weeks and I built a life with it. Imagine what I'll do with a salary. The screen door closed behind me. The spring stretched and released. The sound was like a breath being let go. That was 19 months ago. The divorce finalized in November 2023. I was awarded 58% of marital assets, full custody with supervised visitation for Grant, and $2,200 per month in support. The judge read 3 pages of the spreadsheet into the record. The courtroom was very quiet. I work at Whitmore and Solis again. Same windowless office. Different chair. Janet kept my nameplate in her desk drawer for 11 years. She put it back the day I returned. Emma is 9 now. She opens the refrigerator without asking. She takes what she wants. She doesn't flinch. Lucas had his 6th birthday at Riverside Park. 14 kids. A sheet cake from Kroger. The big one, $24.99, with blue frosting and his name spelled right. I didn't ask anyone's permission. I just bought it. Pauline comes for dinner every Thursday. She's teaching Emma to knit. Emma is terrible at it. Pauline says that's exactly how it's supposed to start. The credit union account holds $23,412 now. I check the balance sometimes, not because I need to, but because the number is mine. Every digit. Earned. Counted. I ran into Grant once. Target on Hamilton. School supplies aisle. He was holding